One year. How's he doing? Oh, okay, okay. No, they are here in the Gaza and outside. They want to see the position. So when you are leader, don't go to
Good afternoon. Secretary General is going to say a few words, and after we're going to open the floor for the questions.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, I thank President Ramaphosa and the people of South Africa for their warm welcome and for hosting the G20 Summit. My message to G20 leaders over the next 2 days is simple. Now is the time for leadership and vision. We are living through tumultuous times, conflicts, climate chaos, economic uncertainty, mounting debt, inequality, and the collapse in global aid are inflicting massive suffering around the world. And rising military expenditure is drawing resources away from development. As the world's largest economies, the G20 can hold enormous influence to ease suffering, ensure that economic growth is widely shared, and set out our world on a better, more peaceful course for the future. The theme of this year's meeting, Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, points the way. Over the next 2 days, I will call on G20 members to use their leverage to lead the action we need. First, we need economic action. Developing countries, in particular in Africa, are suffering from a perfect storm of shrinking fiscal space, crashing debt burdens, and a global financial architecture that is failing to support or even represent them adequately. Africa has been a double victim of colonialism. First, through centuries of exploitation and plunder, and then again, when international institutions were created, when most countries, African countries, were still under colonial rule and their voices were absent from the table. Today, Africa remains woefully underrepresented across global institutions, and this must change. The Pact for the Future, adopted by Member States last year, called for a reform of global financial institutions. Many decisions are disproportionately in the hands of some of the members of G20 across these institutions. Africa must have a fair seat in every forum where decisions are made, from the board of international financial institutions to permanent seats in the United Nations Security Council and to other global bodies. And the G20 can help repair this historic injustice and drive reforms that give developing countries, and Africa in particular, a real voice in shaping global policies and make global economic governance more inclusive, representative, equitable, and effective in the years ahead. I will also urge G20 members to live up to the commitments made in June in the Financing for Development conference in Seville to unlock more finance for developing countries, to triple the lending power of multilateral development banks, to increase their role in leveraging more private finance, to ease debt burdens with new instruments to reduce borrowing costs and risks, and speed up support for countries facing debt distress, drawing on recommendations from my debt expert group. To help developing countries strengthen their capacity to mobilize domestic resources, and to build trade bridges, not trade barriers. Too many developing countries, especially in Africa, find themselves at the bottom of value chains or locked out of trade opportunities. G20 members can lead the way by dismantling trade barriers and ensuring trade-free access to their markets for the poorest countries. Meanwhile, inequality has become a cancer in our societies, concentrating power and eroding trust in democracy. I commend the G20 presidency for commissioning a bold report on global inequality. Second, we need climate action. The ongoing COP30 meeting demonstrates how much work needs to be done. Countries have failed to keep temperatures to the 1.5-degree temperature rise limit. Science tells us that a temporary overshoot above this limit is now inevitable. And we must make this overshoot as small, short and safe as possible. Avoiding more climate chaos means bridging the adaptation gap urgently. And that requires a massive scale-up of financing. Developed countries must keep their promises by doubling adaptation finance to at least $40 billion this year, and giving confidence that meaningfully increased, affordable and accessible adaptation finance will be scaled up beyond 2025. By mobilizing the $300 billion per year promised to developing countries by 2035, and by delivering on the Baku to Blame plan, mobilizing all relevant partners for the $1.3 trillion annually to be achieved in climate finance and in the same time framework for developing countries. Simultaneously, it's time to capitalize the Loss and Damage Fund, including exploring possibilities of innovative finance. And we also need to supercharge the just transition to renewable energy. Last year, 90% of new power capacity came from renewables. Global investment in clean energy reached $2 trillion, 800 billion more than fossil fuels. But only a negligible proportion went to Africa. Africa should be at the heart of this clean energy revolution. The continent holds immense solar and wind potential, but lacks the investments needed to harness them. A just energy transition must also mean to entirely electrify Africa, powering homes, schools, clinics and industries, and creating decent jobs for its young people. No one should be left in the dark by the clean energy age, least of all a continent that has contributed the least to the climate crisis. The economics are on our side, but political will needs to catch up. Fossil fuels still receive vast subsidies. Corporations are pocketing record profits from climate devastation, and lobbyists continue to greenwash the truth, while developing countries are locked out of a greener future. Ensuring that all countries can make this shift means aligning national policies and budgets with a just energy transition. And it means providing resources and technology to help developing countries invest in grids, storage and efficiency. It means supporting workers and affected communities to make the transition through training, protection and new opportunities. And it means unlocking finance at scale for developing countries by cutting the cost of capital and crowding in private investment. I will discuss these issues in detail with G20 leaders tomorrow. Finally, we need action for peace. I will call on G20 members to use their influence and voices to end the conflicts that are causing so much death, destruction and destabilization around the world. We need peace in Sudan, through ending the carnage and an immediate cessation of hostilities, through the safe, unimpeded and rapid delivery of humanitarian aid to civilians in need in the whole of Sudan. By ending the flow of weapons and fighters into Sudan by external parties, and by both the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces coming to the negotiating table. We need peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo through a lasting solution that respects the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity while addressing the root causes of the instability and violence. We need security and peace in the Sahel. Armed groups and terrorist networks continue to exploit fragile governance and intercommunal tensions, fueling cycles of violence that have displaced millions and destabilized the entire communities. The alarming developments in Mali are making a dramatic situation even worse, presenting new risks to the wider region and the entire continent. Addressing the dire security situation means taking action to urgently restore trust and strengthen cooperation between countries across the region. It's time for the countries of the region to stand together and deliver the stability, hope and peace that people across the Sahel need and deserve. And we need a just, sustainable and comprehensive peace in Ukraine, in accordance with the UN Charter, international law and the resolutions of the General Assembly. We need peace in Gaza. By upholding the ceasefire, ending its continued violations, and fully implementing the commitments of the peace agreement, by establishing a credible political path towards ending the occupation, and by realizing the right to self-determination of the Palestinian people, leading to a two-state solution that enables Israelis and Palestinians to live in peace and security anchored in international law. And everywhere, from Haiti to Yemen to Myanmar and beyond, we must choose peace anchored in international law. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, I look forward to a productive summit, and I thank the government and people of South Africa for their warm welcome.
Thank you so much. You're going to open the floor now.
Hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary General.
Is it possible to give you a microphone?
I don't think this has power, but in any case,
I think you need to turn here. He's going to help you.
Maybe you need another microphone.
Okay, this one is working. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Secretary General. Thank you so much and welcome to Johannesburg. My name is John Beshi, reporting for the Financial Mail here in South Africa. My question is, as the G20 convenes this weekend, there is uncertainty about whether commitments on sustainable finance, debt reform...
Sorry. Do you mind speaking a little bit more slowly because I'm a bit deaf?
Yes, absolutely. There's concern here in South Africa about whether the commitments regarding sustainable finance, debt reform, and climate adaptation will tangibly benefit ordinary people once the spotlight moves on from South Africa. From your vantage point, what specific mechanisms exist or are needed to ensure that the G20 yields meaningful improvements in the lives of ordinary South Africans? Thank you.
I first of all pay tribute to the leadership of President Ramaphosa. I think he has put on the table all the issues that matter in relation to the needs, the financial and economic needs of developing countries in general and African countries in particular. But the G20 is an informal gathering that decides by consensus. And obviously, one of the reasons why I'm talking to you today is to put pressure on the G20 to do exactly the kind of reforms that are necessary for the perspectives of development and the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals in the African continent to become a reality. The system, as it works today, is unfair and ineffective. And I've been saying time and time again that the present international financial architecture was designed by a group of developed countries and essentially adapted to the needs of their economies. It's time to have a real global international financial system whose main preoccupation should be address the challenges that developing countries face. Will the G20 be able to move in that direction? We'll see. But I think South Africa has done its part, putting those...
for investing in their own future, to improve debt sustainability and of vulnerable countries. Climate change is blind to wealth, but hurts developing countries more. The European Union is here to lead the way in cutting emissions, and so is our willingness to help vulnerable countries react and adapt to these challenges. The European Union is committed to supporting Africa's journey to unlock its full potential. And we are looking forward to engaging with all African Union countries at our summit with them early next week. Finally, on critical minerals, diversifying supply chains and reducing dependencies is a priority for the European Union. Concentrated production increases geopolitical and economic risks. We must build strategic autonomy. This requires us to engage with different parts of the world and with new partnerships while strengthening existing ones. This is what the G20 enables us to do on development, on trade, on climate, on critical minerals, or artificial intelligence. The European Union will take its responsibilities as a big economic power in the multipolar world. But we cannot do it alone. We need all G20 members to take bold, collective action. This is what this summit is about. As the world becomes more multipolar, we need more multilateral cooperation, not less. To paraphrase Bishop Desmond Tutu, I would say, our commitment to multilateralism is bound up in yours. Multilateralism is not old-fashioned. Multilateralism is not outdated. Multilateralism is our best, maybe our only defense against disruption, violence, and chaos. And South Africa puts multilateralism to work. And I would like to commend President Ramaphosa and the South African team. You have done an exceptional work towards reaching an agreed leaders' outcome from this summit. We are looking forward to the discussions ahead. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Let me first also say, together with President Costa, that the European Union is very pleased to be here in Johannesburg. The G20 Summit is the first on African soil. It is the first since the African Union joined as a permanent member. And this is highlighting Africa's central and vital role on the global stage and the leadership of President Ramaphosa and South Africa. The G20 is a premier global forum to find common solutions for common challenges, such as how to maintain reliable, rules-based trade in a volatile global economy, or how to ensure climate change, fight food and energy resilience, and how to meet the opportunities and risks posed by rapid technological change. These are the topics of the 3 roundtables that will form the core of our discussions in the next 2 days. And allow me to go into further detail on each of those 3. The first is on trade. Europe is doubling down on our core belief that rules-based trade delivers. We will continue to champion partnership, openness, and fair competition. And that is the message we'll bring to the G20 and to the EU-African Union Summit, which follows these G20. Our network of free trade agreements is already the biggest in the world. 44 agreements with 76 partners. And we have more on the way. The agreements we have reached with Mercosur, Mexico, and Indonesia further strengthen our network. And we're working non-stop to finalize an agreement with India, but also with Australia, Thailand, the Philippines, Malaysia, and the United Arab Emirates. And just yesterday, we, the European Union and South Africa, concluded a clean trade and investment partnership. We are a partner that plays by the rules. That's important for us. We listen to our partners. And above all, we deliver mutual gains in trade and investment, which in return delivers good jobs. We believe in the mutual gain in trade and investment. We will continue advocating for a strong, reformed and relevant World Trade Organization, including here at the G20. The second roundtable, there the motto is a resilient world. And here the focus is on fighting climate change and the clean energy transition. As European Union, we want to bring a message of hope and of opportunity to this G20 summit. It is a message about clean energy technologies and clean energy transitions, because not only do they meet our urgent need to tackle climate change, but they do much, much more. And the business case by now is doing much better. Clean energy transitions are cost competitive. They create jobs, good jobs, homegrown. They open new ways to bring modern energy to the many millions that remain without access to energy. And they are a natural fit, of course, for many developing economies, as it is about the resources that these developing economies have in abundance. So we're speaking about not only solar, but also wind, geothermal, hydropower, and the new low-emission fuels. But for the clean transitions to really succeed, it must happen everywhere. That's important. And this is where reliable cooperation between trusted partners is yet again the best way forward. I welcome South Africa's making this a focal point of their G20 presidency. Just think about two figures. Last year, the investment in clean energy was globally 2 trillion, but only 2% of these investment went to Africa. But Africa is the continent with 60% of the world's best solar potential. So this cannot be. We must change this imbalance. And that is at the core of the European Union's Global Gateway Initiative. Of the whole 300 billion euros, 25% go into energy investment, and this to the Global South. The European Union wants to be Africa's partner of choice. That is for us important. And the opportunities now, and therefore I welcome that there is a side event here at G20. This afternoon, together with President Ramaphosa, we will host the final pledging event of our campaign called Scaling Up Renewables for Africa. It will be a key moment because we will convene governments and investors and philanthropists to come together and to power Africa's future. I hope to see you there too. My last point is on the third roundtable, a fair and just future. And here we will discuss the new issues like digital governance and how to enter the global economic mainstream with digitalization. And that's why I'm looking forward to our discussions on artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, we all know, is a revolution, but we must make it a revolution with citizens at its core. For Europe, innovation and accountability don't pull in opposite directions. On the contrary, they push together. And we are already working hand in hand with G20 partners who share the same vision of AI. It must be a game changer for good. This potential is strong on the African continent, from optimizing the renewable energy grids to predicting natural disasters. You need AI in these topics. And there, the European Union is working with our partners to lay the groundwork here in Africa for artificial intelligence factories. In other words, this is bringing computational power to the many, many startups that are here on the continent so that they can train their models, develop their models, and improve their models. So, to conclude, I'm looking forward to the next 2 days. Thank you.
Many thanks to our two presidents. We now open the floor for your questions, starting here at the front with Julia.
Good morning. Julia Payne from Reuters. I was wondering if you had any thoughts about the U.S. 28-point plan for peace in Ukraine. Is it acceptable to you? And is Zelensky or the U.S. or Russia bringing you into the discussions?
Well, thank you for your question. The European Union has not been communicated any plans in official matter. That it makes no sense for me, for us, to this point. And to say and repeat that the European Union remains fully committed to ensure an unwavering support to Ukraine based on the principles of the United Nations Charter.
So indeed, from day one on, we have stood by Ukraine, side by side with Ukraine, and together we are defending the principles of the UN Charter. And we have been working intensely with President Zelensky and the coalition of the willing for a just and a lasting peace. And this is an ongoing process. As you said, yesterday a 28-point plan was made public. We will discuss the situation both with European leaders and with leaders here in the sidelines of the G20. I will also reach out to President Zelensky to discuss the matter. Important is a key principle we have always upheld, and that is nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine.
Next question. Christine.
Thanks very much. Christine Wunder from DW, Deutsche Welle News. Just coming to the topic of climate change, could you give us a sense of what are you going to be insisting on in terms of whatever the final text would be, the summit declaration or chair statement or whatever the case may be? Because it's looking like the European Union itself is losing momentum in terms of the targets you've been setting. What are you going to be insisting on? And also the aspect of where the money is flowing. So there's a big emphasis on your part on the energy transition, but your partners, particularly here in Africa, really want adaptation financing as well. So is there a bit of a mismatch as to what you're insisting on, where you want to put the money, but where your partners need the money, mitigation here on the African continent. So just what is on the table? What are you asking countries in Africa to commit to in the absence of momentum on your side as well and funding in the right places? Thank you.
So I want to be very clear for the European Union. We are staying the course. We have our climate targets cast in law for 2030, now for 2040, and climate neutrality for 2050. We're staying the course. We're very clear that we want to reach these targets. We are well on track for the 2030 target. On the way forward, we have to be adaptable and flexible because this is a huge transition that is happening. No one has done it before. So we really have to are on uncharted waters, but we stay the course towards the common goals. That's important for me to emphasize that. Then the expectations here for the G20. I also want to be clear. We're not fighting fossil fuels. We're fighting the emissions from fossil fuels. That is important. So the big topic is, of course, always in fighting climate change is energy. If you look at the cut of emissions, I can only speak for the European Union. The last 20 years, we have cut the emissions by 50%. This cut has mostly taken place via reducing emissions in energy. So this is vital, and here we're talking about clean energy. It's either renewables or nuclear energy. And you're right, climate change is mostly affecting, of course, emerging economies. But they are often also the ones who have now the resources, as I just said, for fighting climate change and having alternatives, clean alternatives for energy. The figure I just was mentioning was the 2 trillion that are invested last year in energy, clean energy, renewables and low carbon energies. Only 2% went to Africa. And here we have to change the balance. Much more investment has to go to Africa. On your final point, climate finance, the European Union is the largest founder of climate finance. Last year we contributed 29 billion euros, that is the biggest sum, and we are completely committed also to the new goals we have set for adaptation and for climate finance.
Next question, Ansgar.
Ansgar, the German press agency EPA. Madam President, Mr. President, on the absence of the United States here at the summit, how do you assess the applications of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, against the host country regarding the human rights situation. And from your point of view, does the situation justify a boycott of the summit? And also, just very briefly, will you attend next year's G20 Summit in Florida if it means sitting together with the Russian President Vladimir Putin? Thank you.
Well, the answer is clear. We are here. And we are here because we are working in a very close way with our South African countries, South African host. The South African presidents of G20 was a very good presidency. They raised central issues to tackle our global challenges. And we are here all together to work together. As you know, the European Union is very clear. We believe in the multilateral system. We uphold the international rules-based order on peace and war, on trade, on the economic security, on the climate change. We remain engaged with the Paris Agreement. And as you know, the world today is not only multipolar, it's also plural. The North is plural, the South is plural, and it's the reason because we need to engage with each other. And we are here to work with our South African partners, with our G20 partners, and is what we are doing here, is what we are doing in the G7, is what we are doing in WTO, is what we are doing in the United Nations, and what we will continue to do because we believe in the multilateralism and the rules-based order.
My question. What about the accusations, real accusations against the whole country made by US President Donald Trump?
I think it's not on our behalf to comment other countries' statements. So you have to ask the United States what that is concerned.
Final question, folks. We have time for one more. Over here, please.
Good morning. I'm Michael Pacherkiw. I'm a regular contributor to BBC and CNN. In fact, I just got off BBC and founder of the World Briefing on Substack. They just asked me on BBC how the EU could possibly find itself so, excuse my language, appallingly sidelined by the peace process in Ukraine just now. And I have to be very frank with you. I've been based in Ukraine since before the start of the war. I talk to Ukrainians every day. Just before coming here, I visited one of the cemeteries where Ukrainian servicemen and women paid the ultimate cost. They are overflowing. So my question is, a lot of Ukrainians ask, how is it that the EU member states contribute more to the Russian war machine in terms of energy payments than it does to aid to Ukraine? Why is it that it took so long for 19 packages of sanctions? Had everything been delivered in one blow, we wouldn't be where we are. And finally, the drip, drip, drip approach to providing weaponry, Taurus missiles to be specific in this case. How do you see the EU's role going forward, given what's happening, especially with the American, let's call it imposition of themselves in the process? Thank you.
So we have been by Ukraine's side from the very beginning on. First of all, it was the goal of Vladimir Putin to take Kyiv in 3 days or 3 weeks. He failed dramatically. This is first and foremost because of the courage of the Ukrainian people, without any question. But we supported from day one on the Ukrainian people as much as possible. And we've contributed more than 180 billion euros to support not only the Ukraine with military capabilities, but also, of course, with budget support. And this will continue without any question. We have indeed unleashed 19 sanctions packages, and these are biting sanctions. You see it when you look at the increasing difficulties the Russian economy has, soaring inflation, soaring interest rates, an overheated war economy. Slowly but surely the figures are showing that the sanctions are biting. And why not in one go? Because the sanctions often also reply to the circumventions of loopholes. So you put a sanction, there appears a loophole, you close the loophole, etc. It's a process that is ongoing, and the pressure on Russia here is ongoing. We will continue to support Ukraine, as we've done before. Ukraine can count on us, because this is not only an aggression against Ukraine, but it is an aggression against the principles of the UN Charter. It's on European soil, and therefore we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
This concludes our press conference, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the presidents. Have a good afternoon.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Program Director. Your Excellency Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and co-host of the 8th Global Fund Replenishment, Your Excellencies, Heads of Government and State, Ministers who are here present, and distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. At a time when multilateralism has increasingly come under strain and pressure, global cooperation in health is being sorely tested. This 8th Replenishment Summit of the Global Fund is indeed a milestone for global health. Building resilient health systems, scaling up local manufacturing of medicines and diagnostics and therapeutics, and securing sustainable financing are vital for both social and economic development of the people of the world who are vulnerable. Without a healthy population, nations cannot prosper. It is therefore essential that we close gaps in access to medicines, diagnostics, and therapeutics, and financing as well, so that every country can protect its people and achieve health equity. Today we celebrate the collective effort to end HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria across the globe. We reflect on the difficult journey we have all traveled and the great progress we have made. This summit reflects our shared commitment to invest in universal health coverage today for social protection and resilient health systems. It is up to us in the end to demonstrate that solidarity as well as collective action can prevail over division. It has been an honor and a privilege for me to co-host the summit over the past year alongside the United Kingdom and the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. We are deeply grateful to all partners who have made early pledges of nearly $4.3 billion so far. These initial pledges laid the basis, the groundwork for a robust campaign throughout 2025. I'm pleased to announce that South Africa's government and the private sector is pledging a total of $36.6 million towards this replenishment. Now, as many of the people who are here are South Africans, they would like to hear it expressed in South African rands. This is the equivalent of 630 million rand. Now, of the South African contribution, a total of $5.5 million has been pledged by the Goodbye Malaria Organization and $4.5 million by the Anglo-American Corporation, as they indicated earlier. So let us give them too a round of applause. We commend them for their unwavering commitment to improve the health of the people of our country, of our continent, and indeed the world. South African private sector has indicated that more pledges will follow. I call on the private sector in our country and elsewhere in the world to step up and be counted amongst those that made a smart investment in people towards eliminating HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. Our pledge represents our confidence in the Global Fund partnership and in its ability to deliver on its promises. We remain grateful to the global health community that has supported us over the past few decades as one of the countries most severely affected by HIV, AIDS, and TB. We urge partners to maintain the momentum that we have achieved and continue to make bold, transformative commitments that match the scale of our common challenges. It now gives me great pleasure to invite my co-host, Prime Minister Keir Starmer, to make his own remarks. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy President, Mr. Minister, dear CEO, Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you, Deputy President and Minister, for your words, for your warm welcome, and for allowing us to be here in such an important place to pay tribute to these freedom fighters and to the great history of your country. And I have to say that you are always more than welcome in France. And sometimes I do prefer to share 80 minutes with you and your business delegation than sharing 80 minutes on the ground with your rugby team. I still have some memories, but nevertheless they are welcome as well. Plus sérieusement, allow me to say a few words in French, so I know that you are equipped for those who don't understand this language, but in respect for the families being here and their memories, I would like to use the French language. En effet, c'est avec une profonde émotion que nous nous tenons ici, dans ce Freedom Park, où résonne encore l'écho du combat héroïque pour la liberté du peuple sud-africain. Ce combat, s'il fut d'abord celui des Sud-Africains, a vite dépassé les frontières. Combat contre l'apartheid, l'inhumanité, la barbarie. Combat pour unir les femmes et les hommes et les peuples entre eux. Combat plus difficile encore une fois l'apartheid révoqué contre la vengeance ou l'oubli. Combat qui unit des femmes et des hommes à travers le monde, portés par une même exigence de justice et de dignité. Parmi eux, 20 destins de France que nous célébrons aujourd'hui. Et merci une fois encore de nous permettre ce moment. 20 engagés qui voulurent demeurer à l'espérance française de l'universel. 20 enfants des Lumières, chacun à leur façon, pétris de l'esprit de la Révolution. 20 noms qui s'inscrivent ainsi dans une longue chaîne française d'humanisme et de courage, aux côtés de tous les combattants de la liberté ici célébrés. L'Afrique du Sud n'était pas à tous leur pays, mais à tous l'égalité était leur cause et la justice leur idéal. Leur cœur ne vibrait pas seulement pour la France, pas seulement pour l'Afrique du Sud, mais pour la liberté universelle. Ils défendaient une vision de l'homme, une vision où une vie vaut une vie, qui les vaut toutes, chacune dans son irréductible dignité. Leur engagement, souvent dans l'ombre, fut celui du risque, et ils en payèrent le prix. Ils étaient de France et d'ailleurs, communistes ou chrétiens, philosophes ou sportifs, souvent des femmes et des hommes qui avaient appris dans la résistance que ceux qui vivent sont ceux qui luttent. Aucun d'entre eux ne pouvait supporter que demeurât quelque part dans le monde un régime d'apartheid, dont la logique profonde, logique de séparation et d'exclusion, logique de haine et de hiérarchie raciale, constituait une blessure de leur conscience. Disons ici simplement leur nom, comme eux, à leur manière, devant l'histoire, ont répondu à l'appel de leur conscience. Disons le nom d'Aimé Césaire, le poète, de Frantz Fanon, l'intellectuel, qui dénoncèrent l'un et l'autre l'exploitation coloniale sous toutes ses formes, et jamais ne désespérèrent de l'humanisme. Disons le nom de Breitenbach, le poète et le peintre qui préféra écouter son cœur et briser les lois raciales, qui subit la prison et l'exil, et trouva en France un refuge. L'homme qui opposa à toutes les forces d'assignation sa puissance de création, car, disait-il, la liberté ne devrait pas être un privilège. Breitenbach, en cette lutte, put compter sur le soutien du président François Mitterrand et de son épouse, Danielle, avec qui il mena cette cause commune de justice et de dignité, de Paris à l'île de Gorée, jusqu'ici à Pretoria. Disons le nom d'Alfred Kastler, homme de science, figure de raison, prix Nobel, qui usa de sa renommée pour dénoncer la flétrissure de l'apartheid. Le nom de Claude Bourdet, héros de la résistance, militant inlassable de l'humanisme, homme révolté au sens d'Albert Camus, perpétuel artisan de la fraternité entre les peuples opprimés. Le nom de François Montplat, rugbyman français qui osa briser les barrières raciales lors d'une tournée ici, en 1958. Prononçons les noms des engagés du Parti communiste, les élus Paul Vergès à La Réunion, et Marcel Trigon, maire d'Arcueil, qui permit l'accueil de Dulcie September dans sa ville. Cette mémoire-là non plus, nous n'oublions pas. Et là non plus, nous n'oublions pas la nécessité que vérité et justice se fassent. Je dis le nom de militants qui choisirent la clandestinité et luttèrent à travers les frontières contre l'oppression et l'injustice. Henri Curiel, Ève Hall, Marie-Josée et Alexandre Montbaris. Disons les noms de Maurice Kuckerman, de Charles Palan et d'Albert Lévy. Ceux-là qui firent de la lutte contre l'apartheid l'une des grandes causes du mouvement contre le racisme et pour l'amitié entre les peuples, le MRAP. Je veux citer ici Jacqueline Grunfeld, résistance, fondatrice des Amis de l'ANC, qui accueillit des exilés sud-africains chez elle. Sa fille Catherine rencontra Josiah Jerry. De leur union naquit Nokukania, aujourd'hui conseillère diplomatique du président Ramaphosa, témoignage vivant de cette belle histoire d'amour, dans tous les sens du terme, franco-sud-africaine. Je veux dire encore les noms de Jean-Jacques de Félix et Elisabeth Martineau du Comité français contre l'apartheid, présidé par Jean-Paul Sartre. Comité qui organisa le soutien à l'avocat Bram Fischer, arrêté après le procès de Rivonia. Je dis enfin, avec un sentiment particulier, le nom de Paul Ricoeur, penseur de la reconnaissance des mémoires blessées, dont le travail inspira la commission Vérité et Réconciliation et qui, sans relâche, accompagna le président Mandela et tant d'autres. Non, pendant de longues années en France, des simples militants, des engagés anonymes, eux aussi ont manifesté, agi, écrit en solidarité avec un peuple coupé en deux, une nation où un rideau de fer racial séparait des hommes. Avec eux, dans le monde entier, un élan accompagné avec admiration et respect le combat de Nelson Mandela. Ce combat oppose l'humanisme à l'assignation, l'espérance à l'oppression, la force du pardon au joug de la haine. Combat que menèrent les hommes des Lumières, que mena Toussaint Louverture et tous ses héritiers, combat de Misak Manouchian et de Joséphine Baker pour la liberté, l'égalité, la fraternité. C'est là aussi l'universel français. Ce combat n'est pas terminé. Ces noms surgissent de l'histoire pour nous inciter à l'action. Ils sont là à Pretoria pour égrener d'autres noms, d'autres peuples, d'autres causes. Et si nous égrenons leurs noms, c'est pour nous souvenir qu'à leur place, jadis, ils avaient vu le sort d'un peuple asservi. Et ils y avaient vu l'asservissement de tous les hommes. Leurs noms sont aujourd'hui aussi celui des victimes des guerres menées au nom des idéologies de haine, du fanatisme, du racisme, des nouvelles formes d'hégémonie. Leurs noms sont des cris de fraternité, d'espérance, de dignité. Alors cette fraternité qu'ils ont incarnée nous oblige. Et cet esprit du Freedom Park doit nous inspirer. Quand Breitenbach ou Nelson Mandela vivaient dans l'ombre de leur geôle, ils savaient que l'histoire leur rendrait justice. Ils en étaient sûrs. Car qui combat pour la liberté universelle a toujours raison devant les siècles. Alors voyons dans ce lieu une place de reconnaissance, de mémoire, un tombeau pour toujours, pour chacun de ces noms. Mais voyons aussi une place d'espoir et d'exigence pour nous tous, car ces combats sont encore à conduire. Et veillons à n'oublier aucun nom de cette histoire d'Afrique du Sud, de France, d'Europe, d'Afrique. Et veillons à retenir d'eux l'exigence de ces combats et l'espérance qu'ils portent. Je vous remercie.
Can we give another round of applause to His Excellency?